Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a hump day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, Batters Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction and Roofing. You need an orthopedist? You go to Brock. You need a roof? You call Parish. A unique physique, uniquephysique.com, restored motions, restoredmotions.com. We appreciate y'all for being here with us. Hope everybody's having an awesome start to their day. What a busy 2 days it's been, certainly around the Saints organization. They fired Dennis Allen on Monday. I mean, I guess you could even go back to Sunday. You lose to Carolina, you fire Dennis Allen on Monday, and then on Tuesday, trade deadline comes and goes, and the Saints do, in fact, trade Marshon Lattimore to the Commanders. Double amounts of good there, man. Well, it's disappointing to see one of the all-time great players in franchise history leave. The flip side of that is it's very much an acknowledgement by the organization that you were no longer a contender, which you knew, I knew. I mean, everybody who watches this team knew that, except the people making the decisions who stubbornly kept just digging their heels in and continuing down this failed path. So firing Dennis Allen, an acknowledgement that you'll have a new regime, trading Marshon Lattimore, even though you're still going to have a large dead cap hit next year. I mean, it's still going to be in the $31 million neighborhood, but if Lattimore were on your team next year, he would have been a prime candidate for a contract restructure. So yes, it's not going to help your cap tremendously for 2025 because I mean, you're still going to have $31 million of dead cap money. I mean, Marshon Lattimore not on your team is still going to cost you $30 million against the cap, but you're not going to have to restructure that deal and put money on the books for 2026 and 27 and 28, which is what they've done as a process for so long now. You can begin the process of getting younger and cheaper to fix your cap situation so you can then again hopefully draft well and be aggressive in free agency to try to add players to help your team help make your team better. So as far as the draft compensation, the Saints sent Lattimore and a 5th round pick to Washington for a 3, a 4, and a 5. So effectively, you had a pick swap in the 5th round. And remember, Washington is likely to pick at the end of the round. You're likely to pick at the front of the round. So the late 4 you give them your 5. So you take their late 5, which we all presume will be a late 5, but their late 4 kind of acts as your early 5. But then also with all the compensatory picks, that'll be about a 15 pick gap, we're assuming, thereabouts. And then obviously you get a 3, which is going to be a late 3, but still a 3. So it's not awesome. It's not like you went and got a 1st or 2nd round pick here. The best thing you did was a late 3, but you effectively gained. You sent Lattimore away, and you effectively gained 2 picks, a late 3 and a late 4. And you swap picks in round 5. So it's something. It's an opportunity to make your team younger and more affordable. Okay, y'all smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Thanks as always for being here with us. As always, shout out to Brock. Hey, remember, tomorrow is, or not tomorrow, I guess Friday would be the free Friday night clinic over at Brock. Love that. It's a community service that they've offered for decades now. Any high school football player, coach, band member, cheerleader, dance team member, anybody who's injured on a football Friday night can go get checked out absolutely for free at the Brock Free Friday Night Clinic. And, of course, Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parish Construction and Roofing, visit parishbuilt.com. Trivia Carter, good morning. Christian, good morning. Brian, good morning. About to head out the door, get back on the road. All right, man. Safe travels today. Toki Doki, Donald Long, Richie, good morning, y'all. Let's see. Richie said, morning, Matt. Me and the kiddos watching head at school. Thank you, Richie. Appreciate that. Good morning to the Brumfield kiddos. Hope y'all have a great, great day at school. Dane, Tiger Diver, Jason, what's good, man? All right. See you Saturday. Jason, hope they win, man. It's so much more fun at Whiskey and Wine, obviously, for everybody. But when they win, Whiskey and Wine's so much fun, man, because like they win and then people start showing up, right? People leave the game and come to Whiskey and Wine, or they leave their house and they come to Whiskey and Wine. They lose, a little bit of a downer. Austin, good morning. Brett, David, 6 inches of fresh snow. You can keep that, dog. Oof. Let's see. Dane Thomas, day 10. Let's make it happen. Good luck to all this morning. Thank you. Appreciate that, Thomas. Yeah, man. I always encourage y'all to go check out Locked on LSU. We appreciate that. Bailey, Mickey sounded so sad about DA. I don't know why he loves him so much. Well, I think the thing to consider, Bailey, is like what maybe you and I wouldn't consider is there's a personal relationship there. Remember, Mickey Loomis has been the general manager. He's been with the Saints for 24 years, been the GM for 22. Dennis Allen showed up in 2006 with Sean Payton as an assistant and then left for 1 season in Denver and then 2+ seasons in Oakland. The Saints brought him back in 15. So, and then he's been here since 15. So in 15 years, they've worked together for 12 years. I mean, yeah, like you get to know someone, you have a personal relationship there, and then you have to fire him. Yeah, I'd imagine that does suck. Like it's the human element of this that most people don't consider is these are people and that's their workplace and you have friends in the workplace. Imagine if you worked at a place with someone for 12 years and you had to fire them. That would suck. Hey, Weston, good morning. Mr. Wallace, good morning. What a great 2 days. Wacky Chris, should I be aggravated? We gave the commies a pick and Lattimore rather than just Lattimore. No. And I think that's the best deal you got. I want to remind you, when the Rams traded Jalen Ramsey, who, by the way, in his prime and is arguably the best cornerback in the NFL, they got a 3rd-round pick and Hunter Long. That's Jalen Ramsey. I mean, bro, like the fact that you got a 3, a 4, and a 5 for Lat and a 5 is great compensation. I thought the best you were going to do was a day. I thought you were probably going to get like a 4 or a 5 for Lattimore. That's what I thought you were going to get. But apparently there was competition for him. Kansas City called. I think Baltimore inquired. Ultimately, Tre'Davious White, if you don't know if you saw that, but Tre'Davious White went from the Rams to Baltimore. So Baltimore inquired. Ross Jackson told us that Green Bay might have kicked the tires a little bit. So there was competition, which drove the price up a little bit. So, no, you shouldn't be annoyed. You should be thrilled with what the Saints got. I think most fans have an inflated sense of what they think they can get for a player. Like, you weren't getting a 1 or a 2 for Marshon Lattimore. There's no way that was happening. Blaze, good morning. Trey, morning, Matt. Think we got a good deal considering Latt has 1 hamstring left. Regardless, he'll be missed. Yeah, Trey, I don't think Marshon Lattimore has a hamstring issue. I think he didn't play against Carolina because they knew they were going to trade him, and so they sat him. Same thing as Devontae Adams. When the Raiders didn't play Devontae Adams because they knew they were going to trade him, and then all of a sudden the next week he's 100% full go for the Jets. Bubba Smith, good morning. All this feels very un-Mickey. Gale forced all of this direction. I'm thankful. Wendell, good morning. Avid, what up, Christian? I know it's not going to happen. I feel Gale leaving her legacy to Drew Brees would make much more sense. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Brett, and by the way, Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lauscha aren't going to run the team. Dennis Lauscha the executive or estate. So, like when they're going to sell the team to someone, make sure it's sold to someone in New Orleans to make sure the team stays in New Orleans, and then they're going to distribute the funds to New Orleans charities. Brad, Aaron, Spurge, Donald. All we made was one trade. Donald, this is the thing that I've explained for literally years now. You don't have tradable contracts. It's the problem with the whole kicking the can down the road thing is you're not just trading a player, you're trading the player and their contract. So you have to look and say, okay, well, number one, what is a player with value? Like, who is a good player that someone would want? That's one. And then two, would somebody be willing to give you an asset for that player and their contract? And that's where you run into roadblocks. I'll give you examples here in just a second. But first,
Parrish Construction and Roofing. At Parrish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parrish Construction and Roofing. Parrish built. Parrish built. Parrish built. From your hometown. ParrishBuilt.com.
All right. Parrish Construction and Roofing. So anyway, to that point about the Saints, like let's look at, I think I gave Cam Jordan, for example. So Cam Jordan's contract for 2025, he's owed $20 million. Okay. So if you are, and then he voids after 26 or after 25. So you're an NFL team. Are you giving the Saints an asset for Cam Jordan, who had like 8 tackles in 9 games, to take on $20 million of salary for 2025? Heck no. There's no shot. And I would have said you could have traded Kamara until you could have traded Kamara until you extended him. Because now, whoever would have traded for Kamara would have taken on his 2-year, $24 million deal with $22 million of it guaranteed. Anybody want to pay that for a 30-year-old running back? Not particularly. Before you extended him, you could have, because he had no guaranteed money on next year's deal. You have a rent player for the rest of the year. You don't think Kansas City would have been interested in that? Let's go make a run for another championship. Oh, I can get Alvin Kamara for half a season? Okay. And then if we sign him in free agency, awesome. If not, he hits free agency. You got nobody else to trade, man. Jacob Thompson, Hunter Broadhead, Lowell, good morning. JLJ 504 HD, salute that, Matt Moscone and crew. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thomas, Thursday night at the Queen. I'm not going to be there, Thomas. So Thursday night is typically me and T-Bob doing a Scone and tea, but this is one Friday is the last one where T-Bob had a prior commitment with the Queen Casino, where he and Hester go and do a game watch. So he'll be there. So we're going to record Scone and tea today and publish it. So we'll have an episode this week for Bama week. Of course, T-Bob and I won't be at Curbside tomorrow. So we'll be back. I know we weren't there last week as a Halloween, but next Thursday we'll start back at Curbside. Abner, good morning. Seth Rushing, morning, Matt. Do you think Justin Fields would be a quarterback the Saints could go after in free agency, or do you think they should try and draft one in the first round? I mean, I absolutely think the Saints should draft a quarterback. I think you need to go through the process of identifying who you think the best guy is in the draft, and you need to get aggressive and go get him. Justin Fields would be interesting. Let's see. I'm trying to see when his 5th-year option is. Oh, so 25 would be his 5th-year option. Okay, so, and they didn't pick it up. So, because that would have been a $25 million cash option. So So he is a free agent after the season. Because they would have had to pick up his fifth-year option before the season, right? I mean, if he's a free agent and you want to sign him to come compete, okay. But the other thing I'll remind you is you have Derek Carr on your roster next year, period. Derek Carr counts $50 million against your cap as a dead number, and he's $51 million on the contract or on the team. It doesn't do you any good to get rid of Derek Carr. So Derek Carr is with you next year no matter what. Financially, that's what I said when they restructured Carr. You are financially bound to Derek Carr for 2 more years. That was the point I made why I hated the restructure. I don't know why they did it, but I hated it. I hated it at the time. I hate it now. So my thought is go draft a quarterback and bring in a young quarterback behind Carr. Oops, somebody's awake. Hang on. Say hi to that show. Nope, you go. All right. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Hey, Melody, good morning. Sean, any truth to the Joe Sloan ECU rumors? I haven't heard anything, but then again, I haven't talked to Joe. He might tell me. I was going to say I don't think he'd tell me. He might tell me. He'd probably tell me. If I were Joe Sloan, I would not take the ECU job. If I were Joe Sloan, I would stay at LSU. Next year, you'll have Nussmeier and presumably Bryce Underwood. Have more success here, making 7 figures, coaching at LSU, and then get a Power 5 job, which is very plausible. I would not take East Carolina. Leon Mortimac can miss 23, especially against Tampa and Evans. True. They can rebuild quickly. Do you think Rizzi can be a viable candidate? I don't think Darren Rizzi can be a viable candidate. And it's not a knock. I love he just seems like a ball coach, old school. He's been a head coach 1 year in college. Somewhere I looked it up yesterday, somewhere in the Ivy League, maybe for 1 year, he was a head coach or Division II. But no, I don't think that's not because Darren Rizzi wouldn't be a good coach, but because I think you've got to move on from this Peyton Allen, this thing. You've got to move on from this. You've got to stop allowing this to exist in your ecosystem. Move on. Bring in new ideas. Bring in fresh ideas. Bring in new blood. Bring in new people. You've got to get rid of this idea that you're continuously bridging the gap from Peyton and Breeze. It's over. The lights are off. The door is boarded up. You're never opening it again. That's over. Go down a new path. Patrick, love Marshon. The move had to be done. Surprised we didn't make another with Chase Young. I asked Ross yesterday. Y'all check that out. I talked to Ross Jackson yesterday on AFR. I got it on AFR Saints YouTube. But I talked to Ross yesterday on the show, and I asked him who else. He did mention that some inquired about Chase Young. But I think when Zadarius Smith, for example, went to Detroit, there were I think some other teams had better options than Chase Young, which is why he didn't get moved. I think if there was anybody else he said. Yeah, here it is. So this was a good chat with Rob. I'm gonna post it in the chat if you want it. It was a good convo about the salary implications of trading Lattimore. Who else inquired? What other players? All that stuff from yesterday. I just posted in the chat if you want to check it out. Patrick, Charlie, Kelly, Jason, Matt, have you checked on the hats today? No, I haven't. Hey Siri, text Dan Palmer. Hey man, I hope all is well, period. Do y'all have any more of the Bud Light 100-year Tiger Stadium hats? Question mark. I'd like to bring some with me to Whiskey and Wine on Saturday. Cool. There you go. Austin, good morning. Let's see. Locked On series better than other SEC schools. I'm not just saying that because of his majestic beard. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I think Locked On has been a great thing for me. I've said this to y'all many times. I'll say it again. You know, we don't get paid for Locked On. Like, we don't get a salary. We get paid on CPMs. So basically, the number of downloads and honestly, audio downloads are better than YouTube views, but YouTube's great. So if you watch on YouTube, I'm thrilled. I don't want to say don't do that, but or do both. But so yeah, and the way I would say it is for Locked On, if you were to take my 3-hour radio show, right? You take AFR and take just the LSU content and like condense it into like a little digestible 25 minute show, that's Locked On LSU. So if you just want, like, I would recommend if you just want like 25 minutes of LSU stuff every single day, that's Locked On. Pegasus J, morning Matt, is it a better plan in a weaker QB class to take the highest grade player like Campbell and take a QB day 2 at basically the same value? Yeah, so I know people say, oh, it's a weak quarterback class. Who determines it's a weak quarterback class? That's the problem that I have. Like 6 quarterbacks went in round 1 this past year because that was a strong quarterback class. Well, are you really sold on Drake May at 3? Are you, like, people weren't sold on Jaden Daniels? That's why Caleb Williams went number 1 overall, not Jaden, which seems stupid now, but was anybody really excited about J.J. McCarthy? I mean, Bo Nix was, 10th or 11th overall? I mean, guys, like, Michael Penix was the 8th pick of the draft. Is he going to play? I don't know. So what determines a strong class or not? Opinion? If you're doing your due diligence, you go scout this draft. You determine who, throughout all your due diligence, who's the player you'd like to have, who you think you could build your franchise around, and you go get that player. Let's see, 2 more minutes. Tony, good morning. Ronnie, Joshua, do we go for Sanders? I like Shedeur Sanders a lot. I know for some people there's going to be a stigma because they don't like his dad. I happen to love Deion. I think he's done an awesome job in Colorado. I just think he's countercultural, which is what makes people uneasy because you're not used to seeing a head coach be so bombastic. So it's going to be very polarizing. But the results are undeniable. He inherited a team that won 1 game. His first year, he won 4, and then this year they're in a bowl. They still got a shot to win the Big 12. And I think Shedeur is awesome. He's played on a garbage team, and he's dragged them. Last year, dragged them. And by the way, despite getting pummeled behind no offensive line, never complained about it. Tough dude, super athletic, can make all the throws. Like, I like Shedeur. I like Shedeur Sanders. I like Quinn Ewers a lot. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft class that I like a lot. Quentin, good morning. Tyga Poppy, good morning. Rocky, great day. Got a haul for Lattimore. Tony, good morning. Daniel, not reading any of your political commentary because I don't care. Go somewhere else for that. Ryan, coaching candidates are so funny. People bringing up the most random names like Dan Lanning and Lincoln Riley. See, I don't hate Lincoln Riley. I think there is something to be said for roster building in the NFL as opposed to roster building in college. And if you have the right front office, the head coach isn't building the roster. What Lincoln Riley is, however, is a very smart offensive-minded coach who also has a history of quarterback development. What do you need in the NFL? Offensive-minded coaches with quarterback development. Like, that's the thing about Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury never won big at Texas Tech because you can't win big at Texas Tech. You don't have the talent, the resources to win big. He went to the NFL, and he was a good head coach in Arizona. When Kyler Murray got hurt is when that thing went sideways. And now he's the offensive coordinator where? Oh, in Washington, where they're awesome because he's a good offensive coach. So I don't think Lincoln Riley would be a bad hire. I think Lincoln Riley would be a really good NFL coach. He's of that same ilk of guys that we laud, like Liam Cohen, who are young offensive-minded coaches in the NFL ecosystem, modernizing NFL offense. I think Lincoln Riley would be a better NFL head coach than college head coach. Oh, I got to go. Rocky, anyone seen our dead cat money for next year? I've been talking about it for years, literally. Who is the one player in LSU needs to step up big time against Bama? Major Burns. This is one game, guys, where I know y'all talk about it, but you miss Harold Perkins in this game. Not having Perkins to be the spy on Milroe is a big deal. And that's probably going to be Major Burns, and you need Major Burns to play really well at the line of scrimmage. All right, I got to go. Y'all have an awesome day. Thanks so much for being here. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. All of our sponsors are linked in the description on YouTube and tagged on Facebook. Remember, Unique Physique, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the once-a-week injections for weight loss, lowest prices, never any contracts. You do the whole thing over telemed, so you don't have to go in the office. They can ship your medicine anywhere in the country. What do you have to lose? Learn more. What do you have to lose except the LBs? UniquePhysique.com. Okay, y'all go check out Locked on LSU and then AFR